And we are go. Hello and welcome to an episode of the Peter O'Halloran podcast. Now I know what you're thinking. How did he come up with that fucking name? Ingenious. Well, it just appeared to me in a vision. Well, it's been a long time since I've been on doing podcasts. I haven't done one in a long while for myself. I have done a few for other people, but my own had the time. So I said to myself, it's time to get another one up and think of some ideas. So while I was going through emails, an idea came to mind, okay? So sometimes I find if a client has a weigh-in and hasn't hit their expectations, they ask for help and motivation, or because they haven't hit their expectation one week that they have lost their motivation. The first part of this problem is their expectation. Nowadays, people's expectation are not knowledge-based, but program-based, as in it's programmed into them. Society has created a norm of what's acceptable and not acceptable. This is programmed into every single person. You step on a weighing scales and the number goes up, and you are programmed to feel like shit. And if the number goes down, you automatically feel good. On both aspects, you have no idea what that number means, but you are programmed to react to its outcome. Human beings are more like sheep. We follow a crowd. We act a certain way because it's programmed into our subconscious mind. We go through the majority of our life letting our subconscious mind live our life without ever paying much attention to our actual conscious mind. Some people are so ruled by their subconscious mind that no matter what their conscious mind does, their subconscious will refuse to accept it because it goes against what they are programmed to think of how everyone else in their group or society thinks. I'll give you an example. Picture an elevator and there's about 10 people standing inside. So it's pretty packed. Now, let's say you get into the elevator. What's the first thing that you do? You turn around. You turn around and face the same direction as everybody else. Nobody asked you to. There's no rules on the wall in the elevator saying you must face a certain direction or the same way everyone else does, but you do it anyway. And why? Because that's what people do. That's what people are programmed to do. Your subconscious is on autopilot and doing what it's programmed to do. Now, what if you went against the program? You let your conscious mind override your subconscious mind. Let's say you make the conscious decision that this time when the elevator door opens and you get in, that you don't turn around, but you stay standing looking at everyone else. What's going to happen? You will have 10 people feeling awkward as shit looking back, looking at you quick, looking down, looking at you quick and looking down. And why? Because what you have done is you've gone against what people are programmed to do. You are the only person in that elevator who has entered using their conscious mind, while all the other subconscious minds don't know how to deal with you. They feel awkward. The problem here is people are not taught how to deal with issues outside of what everyone else does, or they don't know how to deal with problems outside of their subconscious mind. Some of you are wondering what's the difference between your conscious mind and subconscious mind. So I'll explain a bit in short. So your conscious mind consists of thinking, imagination, willpower, creativity, ideas, creation, and awareness. Now let's look at the subconscious, which I believe runs over 90% of the majority of people's lives. Emotions, belief, habits, fight or flight response, feelings, dreams, and expertise. Look at social media, for example. It should be called subconscious media. All the aspects of your subconscious mind in one place. People express their emotions, their beliefs, their feelings, their dreams, and their expertise. The people who let their subconscious mind run their lives are the people who will share that article without reading it just because the headline supports their subconscious views without using their conscious mind and thinking for themselves. I'll give you an example of this. About 2 weeks ago, I seen a post on Facebook where a woman had up about artificial sweeteners, aspartame and sucralose. Now, she had up a screenshot of a Google search she did, and the first result that came up about toxicity. Now, instead of doing any actual research or reading the research papers that came to this conclusion, she shared her quick findings on Facebook Now, these findings help support her subconscious belief that these sweeteners are bad, which in turn was shared by her like-minded friends who shared her post because it falls into their subconscious belief system and so on. What if she made a conscious decision and said, I'm going to read into this a bit more, actually read the studies before I post this and potentially make an idiot of myself. And it's not like there's a lack of studies done on these. In fact, millions has been spent doing studies on artificial sweeteners, okay? So there are a lot of different types of studies, and I'll give you a few for example, okay? Number one, you have randomized clinical trials. So what these are is for these people, they're randomly assigned a group that compare different treatments. So neither the researchers or the participants can choose which group a participant is assigned. For example, if they're testing the effect of an artificial sweetener on humans, participants are given a certain daily dose of artificial sweeteners while others are given a placebo or sugar, for example. Neither the participant nor the researcher know the group the participant is in. So this is usually considered the gold standard for scientific studies. Now, millions have been spent on these types of studies, and not one to date has linked any sweeteners or artificial sweeteners to any form of toxicity or cancer and so on. You hear all people talk crap about. Okay, then we have epidemiological studies. These are observational studies of populations around the world and the impacts of nutrition and health. For example, diets with high consumption of saturated fat are associated with an increased risk of heart. These studies do not determine the cause and effect relationship. Okay, next you would have intervention clinical trials. These are scientific investigations where a variable is changed between groups. What I mean by that is, say, testing the effects of sweeteners on gut bacteria, for example. One group would consume a diet rich in artificial sweeteners, while group 2 wouldn't consume any sweeteners at all, and group 3 would eat a combination of group 1 and 2. If done correctly, it can determine a cause and effect relationship. Once again, millions has been spent on these human trials, and once again, none have shown any negative effects to date or linking sweeteners to any toxicity or cancer or anything like that. So where's everybody getting these wild accusations they're sharing online? Well, they get them from things like animal studies, okay? And nearly every study I've seen online where people are using as references are all animal studies. So like the testing is like I said in the name. Testing is like it says in the name. So if you're testing the effects of artificial sweeteners on guinea pigs or lab rats and so on, these are less expensive than human trials, but the study is not on whole humans, so it may not be applicable. Nearly every study that people use to show their negative effects of an artificial sweetener and so on are all either animal studies or in vitro studies. And if you actually looked at the animal studies, they determined these effects by giving these animals 1,000 times the recommended daily dose over a certain amount of time. Now, to be honest, you do not need to be a scientist to figure out that 1,000 times the daily dose of anything is going to have a negative effect on any living organism. So these studies aren't really worth a shit. The other bottom of the chain studies that people try and use are in vitro studies. So adding something directly into the cell without its proper mechanism of action into the cell is going to have a negative impact on the cell. You could in vitro amino acids into a cell and you will more than likely get negative effects, because in reality the amino acid does not reach the cell in the form it's injected. So these studies also not worth a shit. I'm getting a bit off point here, but what I'm getting at is, if she made a conscious decision to do proper research, she would have consciously educated herself in the process and wouldn't have came to the conclusion she did, which was Google search, screenshot, share, and then be the one to say to others, you need to do your research. Instead, the subconscious belief and literature supporting her subconscious belief is enough to validate her post and influence others who also can't make a conscious decision for themselves. Now, take Instagram, for example. Apart from friends and family, who else are you following? More than likely people who are using their conscious mind. The creative people, the people who instill motivation, or the people you see who have great willpower. Why? Because your subconscious mind likes what the conscious mind has to offer, but are too afraid to let their conscious mind take over or even work in tandem with it. Well, let me tell you something. You can use your subconscious mind and your conscious mind at the same time. They can work in tandem. I'll give an example that a lot of people will probably understand. Think of a time you were driving your car and you were having a really deep and meaningful conversation with the person in the passenger seat. Now, let's say 20 minutes later and the conversation has ended. If that person says to you, "Do you remember much about the road in the last 20 minutes? No. Do you remember how many times you had to change gears or even stop the conversation to even think about changing gears? No. Why? Because while your conscious mind was so involved in the conversation, your subconscious mind took over driving the car. Some people call it muscle memory. If you look at every military in the world, they will all work on the same concept. They will firstly train your subconscious mind. And as you progress in your career, then your conscious mind is brought out more and more. So, when we train and recruit, for example, the reason a weapon or marching is drilled over and over and over again is because the recruit is learning from you, so their conscious mind is paying attention. By you doing things over and over and over again, that recruit will change the learning they are mastering into expertise and habits and are now converting into subconscious memory. So over time, they can now do this without even thinking about it. And as they progress in their career, then the military will pick at their conscious mind to come forward again as they want leaders. Every military in the world gives their privates a chance to go higher in rank. They want decision makers, thinkers, people with willpower, creativity, awareness. They want leaders. Why do they want leaders? Well, without a leader, then you're just left with a flock of sheep running around on autopilot, living on their subconscious minds. Like I said before, people aren't taught how to deal with issues in their conscious mind. They always let their subconscious mind make decisions. Even if they make a conscious decision to do something, they then let their subconscious mind take over because of fear of failure. And I could see this a lot. I would get a lot of clients and I can tell who is using their conscious mind that they want to lose weight and those who are using their subconscious mind. The difference between the person who says, "I'm going to make this happen," or the person who wishes it would happen. One way of telling the difference is faith and hope. Now, I don't mean faith as religion. I mean faith as self-belief. Belief that you will accomplish something. Hope is the beggar of the two. Hope is the subconscious mind, and hope is where you will fail. So let's just put this into an example. Let's say I have two people who sign up for a diet plan. And one sends a message saying, "Okay, I have started now. Let's do this. I'm excited. I'm on this journey." This is someone using their conscious mind. They have self-belief and willpower. Now, let's turn it around to the next person. Let's say the next person sends me a message and says, "Hey, I'm starting today. Let's hope this works." Already, you have let your subconscious mind take control of the situation. You are creating a fallback on or a doorway that you can use to quit when things aren't going to how your subconscious mind has hoped for things to go. And therefore, you will never put in 100% because of a fear of failure. If you have someone who has been affected by every nonsense diet out there, everyone knows that person they call a yo-yo dieter. Well, that person has tried so many times that it becomes habit, and habit linked with emotion or failure, and it converts to a subconscious memory. Now, even though you have started a new diet, your subconscious mind is already giving itself an option or excuse to fail because failure is programmed into their subconscious from so many failures before. And because of this, you now rely on the coach to use their conscious mind to instill motivation into you. But there's only so much someone else can do for you. Motivation and willpower is something you must generate yourself. If you don't learn how to use your conscious mind and deal with failure and conjure up your own willpower or motivation, then you are setting yourself up for failure from the get-go. I know you hear all these motivational speakers and they say things, like failure's not an option and all this kind of bullshit. You need to understand at some point of your life, you will fail. Whatever it is you do or whatever it is you are trying to achieve, you will fail. And if you don't fail, then you are not trying hard enough to achieve what you're trying to achieve. It might sound a bit paradoxical, but every famous person you have ever learned about in the history books has, at one point in their lives, or multiple times, failed. Every single one of them would have failed at one point in their lives. But they would have been someone who lived their life with their conscious mind. They have failed, but took failure as a lesson to learn and continued on their ambition, making a conscious choice to learn, improve, and succeed. It's because of that success you learn about them today, or they are in the history book. I love looking at people throughout history because it's history that helps you move forward. You learn from the past. Hindsight's a bitch. What was done wrong before? Albert Einstein said, no problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. Think about that one for a minute. If you experience a problem in your life, how do you fix it? You won't fix it by keeping everything the same, staying in autopilot. You need to consciously think, what went wrong? How did it go wrong? What have I learned from it and how to fix it or advance? Now, I know some people had their minds made up when they were younger and wanted to do or achieve certain things in life. They do it, achieve it, and realize that they aren't happy, but stay in that position because it's manageable. By this, they sink into autopilot and they live their life subconsciously. I think living your life subconsciously is a waste of your life. Nelson Mandela once said, there is no passion to be found playing small, in settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living. There is nothing to be gained from settling for a version of you less than the quality of your potential. Even John Lennon put it well, saying, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. I think the short but sweet. Life is your subconscious living. It will be there till you die regardless. You will live a life, but it's up to you to choose your own destiny. No one else. It's your decision. So, what am I getting at here? Is if you're the type of person who quits because someone else wasn't able to motivate you, that is your excuse, because the only person who can motivate you is yourself. And blaming someone else is your way of making you feel better about your failure. Yes, others can help you realize your true potential, but only you can realize it. And things become a lot better once you realize this, and you realize and embrace the fact that you will fail. You get over it. It's inevitable. Whatever you do in life, at some stage you will fail. I have failed. You will be shit at something. You might fail over and over again. Winston Churchill said, success is walking from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. There's no real need to explain what he's trying to say here. Every failure we go through leads to a new lesson learned. It is your choice and only your choice. You can learn from it, pick yourself up and move on, or you can continue to blame everyone else and sink back into your subconscious living with the same destructive habits over and over again. I'm going to give you a little history lesson, because one of my most favorite people in history would be Nikola Tesla, because the man was a genius and he just never gave up. Okay, now Tesla embraced a lot of other inventors. Okay, he was brilliantly pursuing the expansion of knowledge, and he had such a drive for progress that it came at a price of inevitable failures. Okay? Scientists, experiments, they're going to fail. Now, Tesla didn't let all his failures lead him to discontinue his endeavors. He used failure to guide subsequent experiments, eventually leading to success. How many failed experiments do you think Tesla or Thomas Edison had before achieving success? Like, if we think of the light bulb, everyone says Thomas Edison created the light bulb. Okay, well, contrary to popular belief, the light bulb wasn't Edison's invention. The light bulb was already invented before Edison was even born. Okay, it was invented in 1809 by Humphrey Davy. Okay, he invented the first light bulb. It was just by attaching a charcoal strip between the ends of wires and connected to a battery. Okay, now this was considered as the first light bulb. And in 1875, Henry Woodward and Matthew Evans patented the light bulb, which was basically the same as of 3 decades before. They just patented it. 3 years later was 1879. Joseph Wilson Swan presented an enclosed glass bulb from which all the air was removed, platinum wires and a light emitting element made from carbon, but they didn't last very long. What Thomas Edison did was buy the patent and improve the design so the light bulb could be brought to the masses, so it could be brought to everyone's house. Anyway, having purchased the patent, he presented a light bulb with a carbon bamboo filter, blah blah blah, had 600 hours, whatever. This was the first real commercial model of a light bulb, only if Edison could solve one giant problem, and that was bringing electricity to the homes of American people. Because no matter how revolutionary or great his design improvements to the light bulb were, what's the point if no one can fucking use them? No one can use a light bulb if there is no way to plug it in or there's no electricity to power it. Nikola Tesla is the one who came up with alternate current, and he is one of the main reasons why technology is so advanced today, because of his patents. Tesla's goal in life, and this is why I like learning about Tesla so much, is his goal in life was to help people by providing free electricity, whereas Thomas Edison was all about money. And I know some might think Tesla might not be the best example to use here because he was shit with money and he died alone and penniless by himself. And it's only now his work and successes are being recognised. And it's because of him we can thank for today's technologies like radios and Wi-Fi and so on. In my eyes, regardless, he was a success because his drive and determination to succeed has made the world a better place. You can say, oh, but he died penniless. Well, you can't take it with you, can you? The Egyptians tried it. What happened? Their tombs got robbed. The fact we learn about him today shows he was a success. I'm going to finish up with the words from a book I read before called The Alchemist, okay? Now, these words hit me when I read them because they're just so powerful. Now, they might mean nothing to you, but they were able to instill motivation in me. Now, they didn't give me motivation. I created my own motivation, but they helped me realize my motivation. Your true personal legend. Everyone, when they're young, knows what their personal legend is. At that point of their lives, everything is possible. They're not afraid to dream or to yearn for everything they would like to see happen to them in their lives. But as time passes, a mysterious force begins to convince them that it will be impossible for them to realize their personal legend. It's a force that appears to be negative, but actually shows you how to realize your personal legend. Because there is one great truth on this planet. Whoever you are, or whatever it is that you do, when you really want something, it's because that desire originated in the soul of the universe. It's your mission on earth. The soul of the world is nourished by people's happiness and also by unhappiness, envy and jealousy. To realize one's personal legend is a person's only real obligation. All things are one. And when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. Now, you've probably listened to me uttering these words now and think this fucking Fruit Loop is reading out of books now. I'm just passing on a bit of wisdom. So, In conclusion, stop living your life with your subconscious mind. Do not be afraid to fail. It is going to happen. Jump into things. Do it, fail, learn, succeed. And if you're going to live in your subconscious mind, stop blaming everyone else for your failures. And that's it. Yeah, pretty short podcast, okay? Well, look, give me a break. It's my first one back. So, I'm going to leave you at that. If you'd like any more information on our next challenge that's running, okay, it's the Back to School Challenge. Just have a look at our website, www.pptnutrition.com. You can check out my Instagram, Peter O'Halloran _, or you can check out Facebook, PPT Fitness and Nutrition. Message me or DM me on any of them, and I will reply if you need any info or whatever. So, I'm not going to say when the next podcast is up because life gets in the way and I haven't got a clue when I'll have the next one up. But I will try and make an effort to get another one up soon. So, that's it. Good night.